the draw. A right to left shot, and favoured by many of the top players and really sought after by many of the amateurs because it just gives you that little bit more distance, or can do. If you'd like to come around here, I'll show you. Actually, I've put a couple of clubs down here to really explain the difference between where the club face is pointing, which is our club on the right here, and our body alignment. So my club face is going to be pointing at our target, and my body is to the right, where I want the ball to start. This really gives us an opportunity with this shot to maneuver it around obstacles. So if I had a tree in the way or something, and an object that I wanted to go around, the ball would start on the line of my body and then hopefully move back around the obstacle and finish on my target. It's done purely by the relationship between the club face and my feet. So the club face appears slightly closed to my feet, and it's that factor that is going to create the spin that I need. A lot of my students, though, when they're trying to do this, they tend to fidget around as they get set up, and they can start to move around, and before you know it, because they've looked a couple of times at the target here, they're starting to move either their feet, or they're trying to get the club face so that it's in a much more familiar position to the feet and stance. Unfortunately, this all happens automatically, and sometimes you're not aware of it, and before you know it, you're actually now neutral, and all you're going to do then is just hit it straight over to the right there. Once we've set ourselves up, we're now in a position where we can actually perform the shot and create the action that we require in the spin. Right, we're ready to execute the shot. One thing important at this stage is to stand behind the ball, look at your target, and really get a strong image of the shape that you want to play. Remember the draw shot, starting right, moving towards the target. You can imagine that happening, very important as you start to set yourself to the ball. Club face on the target, as we've talked about, feet, hips and shoulders to the right, where you want the ball to start. Once you're in that position, it's important to remember at this point the trust and the commitment aspect, because as I see with many of my students, they get into these positions, they do feel awkward, and they start to really sort of try and shuffle into a familiar position, especially when they start to look up at the target a number of times. You engage with the target, quite easy just to move back, or if it's not the feet and the body, maybe it's the club. They try and get that a familiar angle to the body itself. This can result in obviously a disastrous result. Ball will just go to the right, and if it's the feet, then you could actually hit it straight at the obstacle you're trying to go round. The other thing, once we've set ourselves in position, that I see happening an awful lot also is during the swing. Again, we're quite instinctive with our target, and as we look up at the target, it's very easy to root the club on that target. Again, it's simple trust. Trust your setup, trust the alignment things, and just try and get the club working on the body alignment. Trust the fact that the club face and the alignment of that, which is slightly close to you, will impart the spin that you want. A little bit like a topspin forehand in tennis, gives shape. Same will happen with a golf club. Let's have a go and create this shape. Now, as you can see there, it started right, it moved back to the target. One thing to add at this point, this shot, as I said at the start, does give you a little bit more distance. Allow for that in your club selection, very important. It would be obviously very, very disappointing if you execute it perfectly and find that you've hit it a little bit longer than you intended. Like the fade, have some fun. Get on the practice ground, learn to love it. Learn how to set yourself up and how the club relates to your alignment. And even though you might not get it right the first few times, it's a little unfamiliar, work with it, learn to trust it before you take to the golf course.